And the former president had complained he felt enough support in the courtroom. So this week we did see several Republican members of Congress showing up and others, but the Speaker of the House was there. There are obviously politics involved here, but what do you think their appearance in that courtroom, what kind of impact, if any, do you think it has on the jury?
I always tell clients that when it comes to a criminal trial, there are only 12 opinions that matter, and yours is not one of them. And so what impact is that going to have on the 12 people in the box? And I am concerned that by parading these, figures in and out, that would have a negative impact on the jury. I know that there was an incident, where a couple of members of Congress came in, not during a break, and they were somewhat disruptive, and the judge was, looking angrily down. That's the kind of thing that jurors notice. So, it's not something that I would be encouraging. But, whether the jury actually takes something from that or if they just kind of set it aside, juries are funny things.
Yeah, they get to decide. That's the bottom line, right? Former Trump attorney Tim Parlatore, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
This is Michael Popok, Legal AF, and that was Tim Parlatore, who used to be Donald Trump's lawyer and is still apparently on good terms, his criminal defense lawyer for all things, including Mar-a-Lago, until he got sideways with other Trump lawyers, including Joe Tacopina, who represented Donald Trump up in New York, and also with Boris Epshteyn, who's now the indicted co-conspirator with Donald Trump in Arizona. Tim Parlatore has been very candid. He goes on CNN and other legacy media regularly and criticizes the techniques and strategy and tactics of the lawyers that are currently representing Donald Trump, including Chris Kise and Todd Blanche, especially in New York. What Tim Parlatore's point is now that Donald Trump has decided to use his criminal trial for presidential campaign purposes and to attack the people that he perceives as his enemies, and he's brought in wave after wave after wave of MAGA congresspeople and other elected officials around the country who also, kiss the ring of MAGA in order to try to insulate him, protect him, do what he can't do by his gag order, help promote and agitate his base for election purposes. What is the impact that is having on the 12 people that hold Donald Trump's liberty in the palm of their hands? As Tim Parlatore said there's only 12 people's opinions that matter in a 12-person jury, and Donald Trump's is not one of them. In fact, for the prosecutors, this is almost a gift because we report it as if it's a split screen, right? Even on the MeidasTouch network. Well, there's Donald Trump out in front of those bicycle racks giving some sort of speech with an increasingly uncomfortable lawyer, Todd Blanche, standing next to him. But to the jury, there's a process here. They're coming back late from the press conferences, annoying the judge, annoying the jury who has a job to do, and it's not to be a prop for Donald Trump. This is already an anonymous jury for their own protection. They knew from day one during the selection process that for their own protection, because of Donald Trump's, they didn't say it, but because of his penchant for going after jurors and attacking them, they needed protection. So that's been a worm in their brains, speaking of worms in the brains, since day one. In other words, this is a bad guy for which I need protection. Now, add on top of that, the judge and the judge's ire of being upset, understandably, when Congress people try to come into the room after the trial's already started, heads swiveling, noise going on, while the business of the court, which is all that anybody cares about in there, criminal justice being properly administrated, goes on, annoying the judge. And as I said at prior hot takes, being a trial lawyer, I'll tell you straight, jurors bond with the system. This wasn't their job before they got here, but it is their job now after almost 3 weeks of trial. They have bonded. They bonded with the court personnel, the bailiffs, the marshals, the people that take them in and out of the courtroom, the people for their own protection who make sure they get home safely, get them and assemble them in the morning, make sure they have coffee and a donut, make sure they have the lunch that they want, who's got the tuna salad, who's got the Greek wrap. That they bond, right? This becomes, I don't want to call it the Stockholm syndrome, but these people are in a shared experience. They're on, as people like to say regularly today, they're on a journey, and they're on a journey together. And the head and the boss of that journey, the driver of the bus, is the judge. They come to respect the judge, especially a judge of such high ethics and moral fiber and judicial decorum and gravitas as Judge Merchan. They don't care about Judge Merchan's daughter and how she makes a living raising, funds for Democrats and generating, positive revenue. I mean, so she runs a successful business. If anything, that stands in contrast to Donald Trump, who doesn't. They don't care about it, the daughter. They don't care about Alvin Bragg, the prosecutor who runs the Manhattan DA's office. They're like goldfish in a bowl. And I mean that in a good way. They're in a courtroom. They're in a shared experience. They've got witnesses. They've got a judge who's their boss, who they like and respect. They've got the staff who they like and respect. And they just want to get through this together and do their civic duty. They don't want to be interrupted by MAGA. They know it. Even though they come in a different way, they know about it. They're told not to watch things, but come on, they're watching. Their family is watching. They're not sequestered. This is an anonymous jury, not a sequestered jury. So Tim Parlatore's point, and it's a very good one, is what is the impact that matters inside the courtroom? Donald Trump is unlikely to testify. I know there's continued speculation, but I think even Donald Trump, in his public statements ad nauseum, his 20 press conferences that he's given on the fly and in rallies, he's not even suggesting that he's going to be testifying. Think about that. Donald Trump says anything. He'll say anything, but he's not going, when I get on that stand, then you'll know the truth. I can't wait to get on that stand. You don't hear him saying that because he's not going to get on the stand. As I said at the very beginning of this trial, as I said a year ago, he was never going to take the stand. Not when his liberty is at risk, because he does not do well in front of juries. You think the juries are being annoyed, as Tim Parlatore just pointed out, being annoyed by the disruptions that Donald Trump and the circus that Donald Trump is creating in front of the courthouse, in front of the courtroom, with late arriving dignitaries and VIPs from the land of MAGA, right? That you think they're annoyed by that? Trust me, when they get into that courtroom and into the deliberation room, they're only going to have the prosecution case, 19 or 20 witnesses, ending with Michael Cohen. There's going to be a very short, if any, defense case. Now, they don't have to put on a defense case. It's the burden is on the prosecutors, and you don't want to shift the burden and make the defendant, who's already presumed to be innocent, do anything. He can do the whole case by cross-examination. They may put on a witness on the defense on election law as an expert. I think that'll just confuse the jury, but they may try to do that. But Donald Trump is not testifying. And then the jury is going to get to deliberate after being instructed with the jury instructions about this case. Could be late next week, depending upon Memorial Day weekend, or the following week. They're going to have to time closing arguments along with the deliberation, so they're sort of close in time. I can tell you as a trial lawyer, I never want to do a closing and then have a huge gap with deliberation for the jury. I want the jury to hear my voice, my closing argument, right before they're sent off into deliberation. So you're going to see a fight over the scheduling here. I know that the trial's been dark on Wednesdays. I'm not sure the trial's going to be dark on Wednesdays this week. I think they're going to try to use that day. Friday, I think they're going to say, listen, I know it's Memorial Day weekend, but here we go. But what we have in the shared experience is the judge is annoyed, therefore it telegraphs to the jury's annoyed, and the reporting from in the room is, while they're liking and laughing with Michael Cohen, who is a great witness for the prosecution so far, despite what you've heard on other legacy media about, there was an aha moment about a call 8 years ago. Trust me, the jury's already made up their mind about Michael Cohen, and it's in a positive way, and it was done 10 witnesses ago, before Michael even took the stand. That's what jury science tells us about jury deliberations and thought process. And they're already annoyed. The reporting in the room is every time a jury leaves the room, and they leave the room a number of times for breaks, bathroom breaks, and lunch, return from lunch, end of day. It's like 5-6 times a day when you say, all rise for the jury. We rise for the jury in this system. They are the most important people in the room, not even the judge. We rise for that. We rise for the judge too, but we rise for the jury, right? And that jury is not looking at Donald Trump when they leave the courtroom. There is at least 6 competent reporters in that room who report regularly. When the jury looks, they avert their eyes and they don't look at the defense table. I've been in that situation, and it's not a good situation, and it doesn't bode well for the verdict. I'll just leave you at that. So we're going to continue to follow the Trump trial all the way to the end, deliberation and verdict. We're going to have a verdict. It may not be this week. It may be the following week. Just depends on this timing with the end of the trial, deliberations, jury charges, and then the instructions to the jury and all of that, and the holiday. But other than that, we're going to get a verdict in May. It's either going to be a guilty plea on 34 counts of felonies, or it's going to be an acquittal. The only last trick up Donald Trump's sleeve is if he decides he's about to lose this case. And at this point, you have to look at the jury and think you maybe have lost the jury if you're the defense. What I would do, but he's not going to, I don't think, is ask to have a misdemeanor charge given to the jury, a lesser included offense under the felony, less than the felony, meaning he could be convicted of the misdemeanor. Makes it easier on the jury, right? No, it's a misdemeanor. Check the box. But it also assures that Donald Trump doesn't get convicted of the felony. Misdemeanor has less jail time, maybe no jail time. A smart man would probably do that, but Donald Trump wants to be vindicated, or he wants to be a martyr and crucified. That's the binary choices for that team. So we'll watch One Place, Legal AF. Yes, now you know why we call it that. Every Wednesday and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on this YouTube channel for MeidasTouch. We are the network that we're all collectively building with our bare hands. No outside investors. We're independent. So if you like what we're doing, thumbs up, leave a comment. For me, Michael Popok, you can go over on YouTube under MeidasTouch and find all my body of work under contributors or playlists, Michael Popok. And then you can get our YouTube for Legal AF on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. And then on audio podcast platforms, wherever you get that. Remember, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Wednesdays and Saturdays. And then on hot takes like this one at the intersection of law and politics about every hour right here. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting.
Heary, heary, Legal AF Law Breakdown is now in session. Go beyond the headlines and get a deep dive into the important legal concepts you need to know, and we discuss every day on Legal AF. Exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. Join us at patreon.com/legalaf. That's patreon.com/legalaf.